Netflix has removed a tag from its brand new series about Jeffrey Dahmer. I want to talk about why this series is a bad look for Netflix and also take a look at America's fascination with true crime. I want to take a look at an article written about the new Jeffrey Dahmer series on Netflix, talk about what's in that article, and then also give you some of my perspective on the true crime genre and some of my thoughts about the series and how it fits into the film industry and the state of the film industry right now. So let's look at this article by Screen Rant. They have Dahmer Monster. The Jeffrey Dahmer story was originally categorized under the LGBT tag on Netflix, a label which the streamer has now removed. Centered on real-life serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer, who murdered and sexually assaulted 17 young men and boys between 1987 and 1999. The series is the latest true crime fascination for fans of the genre. Helmed by American Horror Story creator Ryan Murphy. Though Murphy's dramatization of the killer's life sought to differentiate itself from other titles in the true crime genre by paying special attention to Dahmer's victims and avoiding the glorification of the killer, those victims' families, this is the interesting part, they've spoken out about being re-traumatized due to the Netflix series. So, just to give you some backstory on me, personally, I do not consume a lot of true crime media. I know there's lots of podcasts, there's lots of shows, lots of documentaries that deal with crime that has happened in America and all of the perspectives around a certain case. I don't really gravitate to that genre, but I know that it is extremely popular in America right now. America is full of crime. It's pretty sad. Everyone is interested, though, in learning about these cases and these crimes that happen. So when it comes to Jeffrey Dahmer, I am not an expert whatsoever in his story. I had actually never heard of him before until my wife, Samantha, she started watching this brand new show on Netflix. I recently learned some of the details about his case, about the victims, and even stories about police in the case turning the other way. There's just so many incredibly sad details involved with this person and this case and what he did. I even watched some of the file footage of families testifying in court. Certain clips have popped up on TikTok and different places as a result of this series, becoming popular now. All of these clips, all of these sound bites are popping up now, and it's all very sad. So I want to talk about why this perspective is incredibly difficult. Think about the perspective of the families. Once again, their horror stories, their loved ones are now back in the public eye, right? And it's not in a great way. It's not in a flattering way. Their loved ones have died, or they were abused, or whatever the case was for these specific examples. But these horror stories are now back in everyone's radar. It's all over TV. It's all over Netflix. It's all over, YouTube, wherever people are consuming these things. And imagine it was your family member. Imagine it was your loved one that experienced this and you experienced it. Think about that perspective. And let's continue with this article with that perspective in mind. With plenty of projects centered on the serial killer already in existence, the Jeffrey Dahmer story has already been covered by several angles. This begs the question of the Netflix drama's necessity, leading some viewers to label the series as exploitative. So, and there's that word again, exploit. I talked about this in my overview of the new movie about Marilyn Monroe called Blonde. Go check it out, give it a watch, give it a listen, because I talked about how filmmakers and actors in the industry are contradicting themselves when it comes to exploiting the people in their stories. But in this example, it's like, how many ways can we tell these horrible things that happened in this case? How many different ways, how many different perspectives can we take on this really tragic event and this really evil person who did a lot of evil things to so many people. How many times can we tell that? How many ways can we tell that story? But here's why I think this story is going to keep being told. Let's continue in this article. Dahmer Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, has become Netflix's biggest premiere since Stranger Things Season 4. That's huge, right? Because Stranger Things Season 4 came out this summer, and it was huge. I think it set records for Netflix for biggest opening premiere, biggest opening, weekend for a Netflix original series. So the fact that this show, this Jeffrey Dahmer show, is the biggest since Stranger Things means it's getting a lot of eyeballs, it's getting a lot of attention, a lot of publicity. And it's currently, in this article, it says it's currently the #1 television series on Netflix. It's probably it's one of the first things that pop up when you open the app. Continuing in this article, though Netflix has removed the LGBT label from the series, it's clear that the streaming service will continue to field controversy for thrusting Dahmer into the spotlight once again as Monster grows more popular. Catch this part. Especially with Conversations with a Killer, the Jeffrey Dahmer tapes, scheduled for release on October 7th. They're coming out with more. There's more to be told about Jeffrey Dahmer and the victims. This show, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, literally just came out in September. And now, a month later, a whole new series about the same guy and the same cases and the same people is coming out in October. So to answer the question of how many ways can you tell the story and exploit people, not enough. Clearly not enough. It's never enough from the business side of things. Hollywood is a business. Streaming and Netflix is a business. And Netflix is looking at this. They're looking at the numbers and they see success. So they're going to continue down this path. They're going to continue to put out the show. They're going to continue to put out the content because it's getting attention. It's bringing in the dollars. And from a business perspective, a lot of times that's all that matters. Unfortunately, that is really sad. The fact that the people in this case, the family members have been exploited, all for the sake of making a popular series. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that Netflix is in the right here with continuing to pump out these shows? Or do you think that they need to dial it back, be more respectful, and stop exploiting people and their families? What do you think? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this topic, and I'll see y'all later.